Let's get into the real talk, because we live in a world where labels are thrown around to confuse people and hide the truth under layers of complicated language. When we talk about white nationalism, we are looking at a political and racial ideology that is fundamentally built on the belief that white people are superior and should either dominate or remain entirely separate from other races. This isn't just some casual opinion. It is a worldview centered on race-based identity and a strict hierarchy where one group sits at the top while others are pushed to the margins. At its core, white nationalism is about exclusion, the removal of other groups, and an obsession with power, control, and so-called purity. It thrives on fear, fuels division, and feeds off hostility toward anyone who doesn't fit a specific mold. It is important to realize that this is a political system, not a religion, though history shows us how often it has been linked to systemic discrimination, brutal oppression, and outright violence. Now, contrast that with what it actually means to be a real follower of Christ. Someone who genuinely follows the teachings of Jesus is called to live a life that looks nothing like a nationalist agenda. The core teachings of biblical Christianity are built on loving your neighbor with no exceptions, practicing humility instead of seeking superiority, and choosing to serve others rather than trying to dominate them. It is about having compassion for every single person regardless of their race, their background, or where they come from. If you look at the historical and biblical record, Jesus spent his time with people from all different ethnic groups and social classes, purposely breaking down the walls that society tried to build. He rejected pride, called out hypocrisy, and taught very clearly that every person is equal before God. Here is the truth stripped down to the bone. White nationalism says that some people are more valuable than others, but Christ teaches that every person has equal value and must be loved. These two ideas do not mix. They clash directly and cannot occupy the same space. The reason people get confused is that some individuals or groups try to wrap their racist or nationalist beliefs in religious language to make them sound acceptable or justified. They use the words of faith to hide a heart of hate, but that is a complete distortion of the message. You can always test the reality of a situation by looking at the fruit it produces. If a belief system promotes hate, claims superiority, or demands exclusion, it is not coming from the teachings of Christ. A genuine follower of Christ isn't defined by a political label or the color of their skin. They are defined by love in action, by their integrity, and by how they treat the people who are different from them. That is where the line is drawn, and that is where the truth becomes clear for anyone willing to see it. We have to be bold enough to call out these distortions and recognize that true faith builds bridges while nationalism builds walls. There is no middle ground when one side preaches dominance and the other preaches service. When we stop sugarcoating the reality of these ideologies, we can finally start having honest conversations about human value and respect. It takes courage to stand up and say that a political identity based on race has no business masquerading as a spiritual path. Real life requires us to look at the facts and see that superiority is a lie designed to keep us divided and weak. By choosing to see the equal worth in every human being, we reject the poison of exclusion and embrace a way of living that actually brings people together. This isn't about being comfortable, it's about being right and being real. We need to stay focused on the fact that any system built on the idea that one group is better than another is a system designed to fail humanity. Love and compassion aren't just suggestions. They are the only way forward if we want to live in a world that values truth over power. Please feel free to follow, subscribe, comment, like, and share. This helps you to stay connected to me, and it helps me to remain here creating more content for you. Thank you, love always, Maria DC Santiago.